Matthew 26, verses 14 to 16. Then one of the 12, who was called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and said to them, "What will you give me if I hand him over to you?" And they paid him 30 pieces of silver. From that moment, he searched for an opportunity to betray him.
Well, today's reading is a short reading, and perhaps the only thing that we know about that took place on the Wednesday of Holy Week, hence it often being called Silent Wednesday. But it's not that silent, because Judas speaks and he says, "What are you willing to give me if I hand him over to you?" Judas here is described as one of the 12, which makes his act even more shocking. Presumably Jesus had been spending the day with the other 11 disciples in Bethany, a village a couple of miles away outside of the heaving and packed city of Jerusalem during Passover, and he'd been spending time with Lazarus and his sisters Mary and Martha in a place with those three friends, in quiet refuge, a place of sanctuary, a place of friendship. But Judas leaves that good place to go off and do something on his own, which paints a picture all in itself. And so he asks the question, "What are you willing to give me if I hand him over to you?" So they count out for him 30 silver coins. Not a lot, really. Maybe it was a down payment until the job was fully done, but probably not. It seems that was it. It was the price of a slave who had been killed. It says this in Exodus, "If a bull gores a slave, the owner must pay 30 coins of silver to the master of the slave." It's the price of a dead slave. That was a transaction that took place. And then from that time on, Judas returns to Bethany and he looks for an opportunity to hand Jesus over. That's why this Wednesday is also sometimes called Spy Wednesday, for that reason. Judas causes us to look into our own hearts as to what we are really like. There have been a lot of motives suggested for why Judas actually did this, but this we do know, that his heart wasn't good. He was duplicitous, he was deceitful, he was two-faced, dishonest, selfish, dishonourable, everything that we are not meant to be, too wrapped up in self, much less than who we should be. Jesus presumably spent today then in a house in Bethany. And if so, we reflect on the house that we are spending time in. This period of lockdown, this period that we're living in, being in our own home, which I hope is a safe place for each one of us, it gives us a lot of time to reflect. We could waste our time, we could be surfing the net all of the time, or watching rolling news all day, or binge watching on some streaming channel, or maybe wishing the day away. But this time that we're living in also reminds us that each day is a gift, and each day is precious. So may we use our time well and regard each day as a gift, as a precious gift, and use it well for God and for others and for ourselves to grow as well, to reflect on who we really are, to examine our heart and to root out any selfishness, any self-centeredness. For Judas here, even after this, he still had a chance to change. He still had grace extended to him. He still could have been transformed, but he wasn't, and he didn't take that chance. But we can. We can change. Psalm 51 says, "Have mercy on me, O God, according to your unfailing love. According to your great compassion, blot out my transgressions, wash away all my iniquity, and cleanse me from my sin." It says, "Cleanse me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow." If we know today is Silent Wednesday, then may we use the silence well and pause and reflect and look deep within our own heart. And may we go to be with Jesus in Bethany, in that safe place. And may we love him, and may we sit at his feet, and may we honour him, and may we learn from him and be changed by him. May we use the rest and the quietness of today well, and reflect on Jesus and the enormity of his love for each one of us, and to take that in. And as we do so, may we be transformed by being in his presence. So create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me.
Lord, I just think about this time, Lord, this really difficult time of being in isolation, Lord. A lot of us being alone and having a lot of time to think, Lord, and a lot of times, Lord, just to reflect on our life, Lord, but it's also reflect, Lord, on the cross, Lord, at Easter time. Lord, sometimes we forget, Lord, that the full awe of the cross and what Christ has done for us on the cross. The fact, Lord, that your Son made himself nothing for us, Lord. That you, God, sent your Son to die for us, so that we might be set free, Lord. So that we might have had a peace way beyond our understanding, Lord. Lord, to restore us and made right with you, Lord, in a relationship with you, God. Lord, sometimes we can get wrapped up in ourselves, Lord, especially spending time alone. You can get wrapped up, Lord, in things, and you can feel quite anxiety and fear. And Lord, I just pray, Lord, at this time you help us to trust in you, Lord, and surrender over to all our worries and all our anxieties. And Lord, I just pray, Lord, you help us to remember, Lord, that you are in control. You are in the seat. You are on the throne, Lord. Help us, Lord, help us not to try and fix things and try and do things in our own situation, Lord, and do things our own way. A lot of people, Lord, are panicking, and there's a lot of sorrow, Lord, and a lot of death going on, Lord, and it's very painful and alarming. Lord, you just have to look at the news, Lord, and see what's happening, Lord. But as we reflect on Easter, Lord, help us, Lord, to remember that we have hope, Lord. We have hope. And we have you, Lord. And we thank you. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.